Good evening, everyone. We'll officially call this meeting to order at 5:37 p.m. on this Monday, April 11th. Welcome to everyone. Great to see you all in person. For those of you joining us on Zoom, good to see you as well. As we go through today, we'll be having a breakout activity later on in the agenda that we'll discuss, but we'll go forward through our preliminary information that we share at each of our meetings. For any guests, don't see any in the room, but if we have any on the Zoom, if there are any public comments, each comment will have a maximum of 3 minutes. The public comment section portion of the meeting will be limited to no more than 1 hour. If more than 20 comments are received, time per comment will be reduced to 2 minutes. If more than 30 comments are received, time per comment will be reduced to 1 minute. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as set forth today.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bendick and properly seconded by Mr. Marth. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the agenda as constructed today? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Yes.
No opposed, I'll move forward with unanimous consent on the approval of the agenda for today. Next, we will go forward, you should have in your packet as well as received via email the meeting minutes for March 14, 2022. I will entertain a motion for those to be approved as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion by Ms. Marth and second by Ms. Graham to approve the minutes for March 14, 2022 as presented. Any discussion? Any opposition? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes as constructed today?
Dr. Blakely, I do just have a quick question, I'm sorry. On the affordable housing issue, is there a staff member who that is being assigned to, do you know?
That is something that was a recommendation that we made to the board.
Correct.
But I don't know if a staff member has been assigned to.
So how your recommendations work, they're recorded on a board recommendation tracking sheet and the city of Columbia, which the board allowed them to do board advisories, decides that it's something that is pertinent to go to individual staff member. Because the recommendation was specific and germane to asking the board to consider something, more than likely that would be come back from the board's discussion and conversation. I'm not sure if Vaughn has any context. I know Ms. Giovanelli was the representative for the last meeting, but did she share any of the comments, Ms. Vaughn, in the meetings, Ms. Giovanelli?
I'm sorry.
Did Ms. Giovanelli get a chance to share?
I'm a little out of it, I just came here from a
Yeah, I know.
5.5 hour meeting, a workshop meeting. Wow.
So,
I saw her comments, yeah.
did she share it with the board, your colleagues, Ms. Giovanelli?
No, no, I don't
I'll
think she
follow
did.
up. Thank you.
Yeah, she did not.
Any other discussion? All in favor of moving forward to approve the minutes as constructed for March 14, 2022? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, those have been approved. At this time, we will move forward with public comment. I do not see any in the room, maybe online. All right. So at this time, we'll move forward to our agenda item number 6. And with this agenda item, what we've done historically with the end of year board recommendations is that we take the presentations that we received over the year, take some time to reflect in those, and in that reflection, we will look to provide some feedback, on the presentation, but also potential recommendations. So what you'll find in your packet information is a color-coded agenda, so you each should have a different color, and that will correspond to the presentation on the wall here. So if you have a yellow, you will start over the student code of conduct. Green, I see small business enterprise, recruitment and retention, and then board member residency and redistricting. So what we'll do is we'll break out to groups. You have time to kind of reflect on that, and then you will provide a recommendation based on what you have seen, you'll be able to add 2 others as you rotate the room. But you have about 15 minutes per space. You'll provide some feedback to either continue or amend a recommendation or expand on current district initiatives. You'll write the group's recommendation on the paper, and then we'll discuss as a large group after we all had a chance to rotate each individual section. Questions with particular activity? We do have a group that will be on teams, that will remain on teams, and they'll rotate in that manner, but we in the room will kind of discuss amongst each other in that rotation, and we'll have a timer that will come back and then we'll rotate. So, question with that?
Just one notation, Mr. Chairman. The copy of the actual PowerPoint presentations that you all received are at the table of each one of the locations that have presentations. So for example, the student code of conduct presentations, PowerPoint is printed for you. The one for redistricting, retention and recruitment, and also small business enterprise. We just print them all out just in case you couldn't recall what the presentation was. There's one copy of it in each one of the stations. And so the thought process behind this is to give you all a chance to talk about each one of the topics in your small group, and then you still come back to the folder to kind of streamline the process.
Gentlemen, if you got your folders, Dr. Leonilli?
And then one additional notation, at the end of the recruitment and retention presentation, you all did submit an official recommendation. You all have made recommendations throughout the course of the year, but some of those were not tied to an actual area of interest. So these recommendations are based on the formal presentations you received. And the one that you all did approve the last meeting, we've written it for you on the post-it and on the chart. So just to let you know, that's been recorded to Ms. Mark's question. That's what you all did last month, and that's already been recorded.
So if there's nothing on the, sorry. If there's nothing on the board and if there's no copies, are we just weaning our discussion per se?
So for example, your
Yes.
recommendation for that, it's kind of a moot point now.
Yeah,
Since you all made your recommendation about the map that you all supported, and that was provided to the board did not take that recommendation. However, you all still were having conversation related to redistricting.
Yeah.
So we just left that open, but most of that presentation was germane to the maps, and you all kind of handled that. So we didn't feel prudent to include the presentation for that, since there's not much we can do about the way the maps look now. But we left it, Ms. Mark, because you all talked about maybe recommending that the board look at a different structure. How the board is composed, single member district versus at large. We just left that open for you all's discussion.
okay, thank you.
If I remember, we voted to ask that board to look at map 5.
Yes, sir.
Map 7 was the one we don't want, right, Peter? If I remember that.
Yeah, but there's a correction
Map
about that.
7,
Go ahead.
the one that the county supported was the one, not the one that the NAACP, Black Caucus, Europeans Against Racism did not support. They supported 5, and I suggested, I think we made the motion here, that our board adopt that map and not go through the rigmarole of trying to decide. Otherwise, they're going to go back to a map that's already discriminatory.
Yes, sir, you are correct, sir. However, the board has already considered that issue and voted on it. So your recommendation was shared with the board. Ms. Vaughn, please weigh in, but that decision was made by the board in December. And the map they chose was filed with the Secretary of State in January. So the reason that's still up there, you all were deliberating about an opportunity to explore or encourage the board to change the way the board is comprised.
Yes, sir.
So that's why that's left very open. If you recall correctly, your motion was discussing about a future topic
Yes,
relative to it being 7 single-member district versus.
that's right.
That's right.
That's right.
So, but that was not a recommendation you all made. You said you wanted to talk about it.
Okay, we did.
So
Okay.
that's why that's open to Ms. Mark's point about not having paper. That's why it's
And it was brought to them, that thing didn't fly with the board, and as Mr. Edie said, the other thing about, single member districts, the 7, there wasn't enough turnaround time
Right.
for that, but it was brought up to put it for, a future discussion.
Plus, one other thing, plus that was a correction because the attorney had it wrong in the beginning. Bruno first thought that you could not vote for a single member, that you could only do it large. I knew that didn't make any logical sense because this at-large system is considered discriminatory by the Civil Rights Act of 1965. It's clear that minorities can't get elected office. Look at this kind of commission. Even a woman can't get elected, a woman that's doing right. We've had 2 women and both of them committed crimes. So that's a real problem. That's why I was happy to hear that the door is open for this board to consider whether to keep 2 at large or go to single member. And the reason we advocate a single member because it gives everybody a fair chance. As long as you have at large, the largest voting bloc is Cape Coral, it almost guarantees at large, the person will always be male, will always be Cape Coral, will always be Republican. That's not fair.
So at those sessions, we'll be able to kind of discuss that if that's a recommendation regarding the single membership. And for those who just joined us, there should be a color-coded agenda in your packet there, and that will correspond to where you would start out at the review for a particular topic. Again, we'll have about 15 minutes per area, and then we'll rotate. We'll make a note when we'll rotate from there. Any questions?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, what did you say about this code?
The color-coded agenda, so we'll start in the yellow group right there on the wall. Student code of conduct. We'll review the presentation, discuss, and provide a recommendation for the review for us to move forward with.
Okay, good.
Unless you're comfortable, we'll just talk about it.
Other questions, comments? Feel free to roll your chair up too, don't have to stand for the time. Discuss amongst each other, and then if you have questions, we'll still be in this space.
And everyone's rotating through all of them.
Yes.
So not you all feel like you're only gonna be stuck in one particular space. You're rotating through all of the groups, so this is a way to keep your time concise and concrete.
And you're wanting us to just put notes on the whiteboards?
If you have a recommendation, so
Okay.
if it's not something your group feels is pertinent, then that's okay.
All right, we'll go ahead and break out to our groups, and then we'll start the time.
This is gonna be.
What other
Your agenda was adopted.
No,
You're yellow, so you start at the back.
You start with the
Oh,
yellow.
your agenda. Oh, that's my starting point.
There you go.
Yeah, that's right. You know how simple is trying to become.
Mr. Baxter, Ms. Burrell.
Hey, you are.
Look at the different rotations. So I'll set you up with one first.
Thank you.
Bring the laptop over, and they'll be able to join you.
Got a good group there.
Well, but that's not the show. Be at different schools and see different things that are going on. Unfortunately, it's the same. Someone from a particular area, you're going to have a particular kind of person. If you pick someone from a particular part of the city, and that's what they do. So that's why I'm against having our it's never going to work in today's society.
Initially, I got one.
Also, you get
So my second message.
I couldn't care less if you're a nice person, that's why I care about that. That's right.
The doctor was next to my
Well, I think what they want us to put on is only if we have a recommendation. They just go ahead and but I would love to have our ideas of, you know, Like, for example, we are making a recommendation to council.
Thank you. Here.
That's all the way on. So they can still hear what they were talking about my computer.
I'm gonna ask a question. I have a question. One thing that I thought, but there are some
I substituted.
there's no part of
So that's correct. But I think that there should still be, even if we're elected, I think there should still be criteria. Yes, absolutely. It should have an education.
Just want to look at it, it's very.
right, and my solution to that. A, I think.
Well, I guess they want to know, the person has to know, to make sure they do it. There's nothing here to suggest bias or anything to put in it.
I can say that, yes. I don't know what part of it.
I think it should still But does that mean you have to have? Because there are some.
So I'm not sure.
It's very sad. They may want to look at
But see what they're doing, they want to make sure they incorporate what's called shelter.
Because I would say, I've done it in this.
I know you're looking at me, you're hearing what I'm saying. Oh, no, oh, okay.
I said, my mouth would get me into trouble. Yeah. I know.
No,
He's got my picture on his phone.
What's
Oh, you saw it too?
I bet it's good. But you know what, if you speak the truth, if you speak the truth, it shouldn't matter. If you speak the truth, it shouldn't matter, and that's where I get in trouble.
I agree.
That's right. That's right.
Yes. Yeah, that's. I know. Yeah.
Until it's time.
Well, I see some of them do.
Yeah, 5 minutes to be rotated.
And this, I'm going to space here.
And then they had.
I didn't say they weren't part of it.
have targeted programs.
Oh, me too. That's right. Yeah. And this may be something important in Iowa.
Yeah, they felt. Just that one. It was, you're right.
See, I'm speaking the truth. That's right. That's the only thing I ever like about That's right. That's right.
Well, for 7 more people that business.
You see, I don't get to meet Yes, it is. And they need the same kind of care, and treatment, respect, and love, and some things even more. And if you're
You travel
It was interesting.
somebody wanted to, she would have to write the money. And they would sit up.
I mean,
I saw it.
Not to take care of
You behind the glass. No store like you. If you put the small business.
Yeah,
When they do wells, they'll move to a store. But never got started. And the young lady was gonna build it. Put them on the street every day. Not that old. Sit there and go on. Whatever you got. What help?
it's a job.
But I'm still working on the table with them. I got people all you don't see that.
Okay, we have 2 minutes left in this rotation. We have 2 minutes left in this rotation.
I want them to do something with all 50 states, I was part of the whole Civil War. That concrete part, the brick part, you see, no part of it. And I suggest to America, turn that into when you sold, when you bought gifts, you know, souvenirs, and people could rent it out for stuff. Then we asked the mayor to bring in restaurants, like bars, Jason's Deli, something that's family friendly. And with games for them, and then I was skating, they would complain about the kids skateboarding on stuff. If you go to Detroit, you have to go to San Diego to that one. Why not us? So we're talking to the mayor, trying to get in. And they don't even have to have one money. You can, they can even put one like over the park and say, look, that's stuff there, that's one. And you cannot go to this charge. You cannot skate. They're redoing the park, putting more playground stuff for the kids in the park.
Amen.
But now, when we have a tomorrow job, my name is because I was concerned about the money, what they were going to do. Mary's already jumped up. They got like looking into the woods. That might be will not sit there. You're already went to the.
They're 20 back.
It's gonna cost $40,000. Because first they sure came, like the Historic Society, they could have came and the other one raised some money for the society. And that's like a number of costs they should have. Sit down, where's the
Thank you very much. Please rotate, clockwise, your next rotation. Clockwise.
That's a green, that's a green, so we're going to the green?
How are you?
So there's one.
Okay, well. All right, I'm moving you again.
Betsy, how you doing?
We need a operational definition.
Wow, here at least.
Oh, good. You didn't have to travel. It's a problem. Making a problem. Gotta give it. Absolutely. We're not gonna small up.
All he is special people. So they can only go to So they were person, and guess what they told us? If you ESC, you can't work hard. I was surprised.
You see, I don't know, school district does a good job.
Because they can
Letting
finish.
people.
What are you doing?
Their teachers. Oh, no, it's me. Yes.
I'm beginning to back in.
That's
We started it. I can't like.
That's something that someone told me. The last year, he was sitting there. Yeah, we're just swapping around. So we'll go there next and now we're going there next.
So my best
So there's one right there for the HR, one is up there. Executive station.
That's great. Peter was like, wait a minute. He's also, you know, how you all feel. One of the things with contact was I was talking to we talked about this. Hair, color, they can, kids push the envelope. You're gonna have girls that were tight as they can, and it's gonna they're gonna have to make a judgment, is it cut it too low, or they're gonna wear spaghetti strap ones. Then, I said, well, your boys can't have to wear tank tops. And I just was frank and said, if I were a teacher, I'd work out there. Over the tank top. I'm just like, that's just, and I noticed some well-dressed men, shave, manscape, whatever. Don't they? Swimmers, swimmers take every, chest hair and all that. No, that's a style that, something like it's not like sleeveless. This is a tank top, put a jacket or a sweater or something over it. When you leave school. Yes, yes. We support you. Spray.
But it's not, it's more
They don't tell.
it's not sustainable, but not. It's part of the chosen process.
Like right now, I just kept it scratching on my house. Make it all square, pretty much, and I'm gonna build for it with profit is making. I'm still gonna have that's so little.
Some Indiana pie. I mean, I don't want where did you go? Mountains?
That's what that means.
What is the first step? Actually, she's
And that's not gonna be wide.
That's what somebody told me.
But people like, the way this, unfortunately, people really put their hearts, so that they can, you know what I mean? That's all it is.
That's right.
I don't.
Yeah, that was that year when Jamie, Robin, Syracuse, yeah, he had. That offer.
Oh, she's not. That's really, I didn't know she's.
Yes, he's. I don't remember, I was like.
So now I'm set for the fight. I do. So we pay.
Yes, my husband was a teacher for 20 years. My husband was
Yeah, but I just remember seeing it. That's what I was seeing.
Yes, we have.
It's back my river. I don't even know because I know I'm not tired.
Yeah, that's.
I would not do that.
There's 30,
I'm gonna be cool.
Yeah, that's.
20, I think, but I'm still young, so we want us to go in. I'm still taking half year and go to it.
I'm tired. Really as I could still get it.
You're not the office being
Plenty of time. Yeah.
So.
Really good. Yeah, I think it's. I think up to then, the other team had looked
Who knows? So what's this, 10 years?
ever since the.
Years. Yeah, then there's.
Yeah, I like this.
They come here, she's not ready for 25. For my field, Russ is not. Like my heart. They were they're making you blue as a yeah, she only has like 5 doors. What is that? Yeah. Life. What?
Oh, so they don't, they're not north.
That's my check. Number one.
Yeah.
When did you get that?
Because they had she changed. Or you was teaching. Brother called.
We have 2 minutes remaining in your card group. 2 minutes.
So she was, but no, not too many. No, I think we should stay.
I think you have to have my number, Steve. Is that how you work?
Because I came to Oakland to learn how I was in school.
Go back to one side.
Please rotate to your next group.
Yeah,
Like a bird, I would do my work
I got you, yeah. Okay, let me go ahead and add that on here.
So,
Did they type something on there?
On the work like.
We don't do some teachers did something, but the district doesn't have a part of it. They show us recognize.
That's 2020.
A whole lot of us started and got no recognition from the district. And I'm just saying that you want to recruit teachers, you also got to.
I got it.
Those who stay. Yeah. So we want to.
Okay, we are now headed to recruitment and retention.
And one of the worst things that happened in 2020, all the teachers retired in 2020. Got no recognition from the district at all. It's like we just faded out. I had a Zoom meeting by my school and some teachers gave me a part. But to hear anything from the district, teachers who retired, to say thank you for your service, certificate, or anything, nothing. And you want teachers like us to go out and encourage other kids to go into the field. You know, that you're-
And sometimes
No way. No way. I'm gonna take no math class, I need to teach your math. No way. If I'm not a math person, I need you. No way. I'm saying, no way. It's a math course, I need you here. You know, like for my daughter, I had to go to school and ask her for the hard copy of the books. I don't understand this teaching in the online. No, I need the books. No, we need the books. They don't give books Another career. Give the money back. The money's there. The money's there. Who's it going to? Money's there.
That's a problem.
No, that, well, boy, you better wait till my kids. I'm telling you, my son, he's a math whiz. He's taking his class at UCF. It's a lecture hall. How do you teach statistics as a lecture? He passed it because it's math. I was at UCF 2 years later. Wrong statistics twice.
No,
You need
you
one. Yeah, because I would have feel that last year. They offer that too, but the credits are still the same. If you're gonna sell some virtual, we need to talk about credit. Well, my class is $30 an hour for credit, when that's what I think that's what you should go to school. But my thing is this. I'd rather go back to no, they're in the group. My son, I know he could pull it up. They're participating in this. My daughter, he's setting up for, you know, she's out. She's home. The smaller classes, to get that girl to transfer it, it's too much.
She cannot log in. Somebody else was not in the committee.
It's not fair how they learn, whether you're effective or how they're effective.
We already.
It's a little while couple of split. How they're effective. It's already
This is
different.
like the.
But, what do you do with education? Maybe I can get your email and have my daughter, she's so disappointed now, she wants to quit. Yes. I don't want to school time, the bullshit with me, but I also don't want her to, you know, I want to bring her anxiety level more than what it is. And see, I think she's a little encouragement, you know? You see, I didn't work out, but it's okay. If you work out, I'm still here. Pretty sure it's different. Like I said, education is not. Yes. You know, so it's good. One semester, so don't get a second semester. What are you doing? I don't want her to pay for 20. You know, take a year off, no problem, but let's go. It's my brother, yeah, that's not a bad idea. Yeah, let's go. Let's go. I mean, you know, I'm in a restaurant, it's a good restaurant. No, she wanted to do, that's what she started. Yeah, and then, I mean, the math, she didn't have. She makes tough, my son graduated. My son was in this class, you know, different learning, she's very smart too, she was tough for class here, but as soon as she got to college, she shut down. She was there for my son graduated. Desire to stay there with us. You know, I'm gonna try to call you and, you know, I did, like I said, I was like, you know, she kept flunking the class, I got smart. You know, doesn't make sense, but at the end of the day, what I pay for it, absolutely. Do what you can. Right, right. Correct.
Those activities.
Whatever it is.
It's so good.
So, this one. Just keep going. Change it, but the next one.
Everyone in the class is now.
I guarantee you it.
Yeah, I think that's the question.
He's like to go.
I agree.
He has a connection.
The younger ones are, you guys are talking
That's right.
I'm not saying it's the right idea, I'm just telling you.
I mean,
So the 23rd.
It's patient and you see.
I don't provide for.
That's right.
We have to be.
Yes, sometimes next week. Or even this week.
Or at least he's getting the degree. To me, it's like, at least he's getting the degree. He's got to figure out what I'm doing.
So are they all down?
Right now, it's a lot of class. I'm sure we'll cash in for 2 years. You know, like every week, he's doing.
Which I need to get out of stuff. But you've been 1 hour.
It's just, you just cannot go wrong. Right, thank you. Fighting over the house.
And where you got water? Yeah, it is.
Thank you very much. You know, I don't mind if my kids are involved. I don't think.
It's like a, it's an mentorship program. We have the first year program for maybe something for our second, third, fourth year teachers. Support them.
What do you feel like?
That's retention. People get in for the first year, and after the first year, you don't have the same support you did the first year. So you start this year.
Now you're telling me. I kind of knew she was hurting my business and going into an argument with.
You can say that for the second year.
You know?
You gotta figure it out.
You know, like.
Well, you gotta do this. That's right. and always give that person advice on how to work in the situation. That's your job, that's one thing. I would give a second chance to do that. Stroke teacher, she encouraged her, she said, positive.
Yeah, she had something.
I do have a teacher. We got a team of smart around. Don't you know like our fracture workers who
This sort of stuff.
The teachers who got great ideas, that you go to some place, they feel intimidated that you come to them with an idea. It's just, that's my point. Just look at it, I work for people that work for them and appreciate it.
I don't know.
Right. Yes.
Then I'm gonna say.
We have 2 minutes remaining in the current group rotation. 2 minutes remaining.
And the more outspoken you are, it's like they want you right there.
Or that you make commission. The teachers?
I know, I still come home, I want to see that, I look at how they operate. So when they started teaching little show around, they're not using it the way it was intended. They want to retain older teachers. They came up with teacher benches, older teachers to mentor younger students. Then the district started to train some. So they promote young teachers into teacher leadership. To train them to be, and they're significant advice to the I didn't have a couple. I had to remind them, I'm going to be your daddy. I've been doing this long as you talk college public school. Remind your parents when you come and talk to me like you're the authority. You don't have enough credentials. I know. Right.
Please go to your last rotation.
He wanted to know what teachers.
Good, how are you?
Good, sir. Good, doing good.
Okay, this is board member residence area and redistricting.
Good.
Term limits for board members. What is that noise? I know. And exploring the elimination of hours.
Sorry? Church meeting, trustee meeting, I gotta go.
Zoom in at 6:30, so.
You know to leave your.
I'm gonna put that right there, and this pen that I stole. Alright.
You know you can never steal anything from me, so I'm okay to tell you.
Oh, yeah.
Meeting tomorrow night.
You know you retired.
I tell people that now. I'm like, man, I'm working harder now. I tell people. Everybody got 2 times.
Bye, Mr. Burns.
And I found it. I got on the
Or 5, don't get into CRT.
Are there, so yeah, are there 5 at large? Yes.
So the
She said yes, there's 5 board members and 2 at large.
The two at large, who they represent.
which is the at large seats? Is Morgan?
So, Ron is at low income, yeah, the primary. And again, I said,
Two more The county commission on the ballot, they know if they put it on the ballot, so they put it on the ballot. And they refuse to run it. That's what I'm talking about. That's one thing around. Take my son right there. I got a friend, Mark Truex, commissioner. He went to EDAC, I get this twice a the restaurant, he said he won't be eating here again until they take that down. I'm going down there intentionally just to see the owner. I'm gonna call him out and walk in. I'm gonna sit down, and when I sit, I'm telling him that I eat here. Oh, the first 3 things they put it out. That's why you're gonna send you down there. Palm Beach, is that call back?
Yeah.
No, Carl, you right there with the racism. You and I talking about it. What the girl said was incessant. She says, I've never seen this before. Maybe she has. I never said something. And then second thing, the kitchen broke down, the walked around and told everybody. What I'm saying is, and 2 African people to me. So much that ended up with not gonna apologize for accusing them of being racist. They were insensitive. People go that turn around. You know I know that. You know me well, Combat. I talked to John about you yesterday. I should have brought him. Okay, do what you gotta do, man.
Two of the other, mayors.
Now, what about residential area? What's the suggestion there? That they have to live in the area that they're running in? And they should have to. If you're gonna represent that district.
All they need to do is just have to work to see what definitions.
Yeah, but they got something in the residential area, somebody must be raising a person. If they can live outside of the district, run, that shouldn't happen. You should have to limit the discount. And then for the district, I'm recommending that they adopt map 5, which is the one that the NAACP endorsed, the one that Black Caucus endorsed, and the one European American Residency endorsed. Yeah. They adopt map 5. Map 7 is already being discriminatory. You got 2 county commissions who vote against that. Brian Howard, am I right, Paul, and Frank Mann. Those 2, they were the only 2 that stood up against.
Well, 7 was number 7 was Brian's, and that was a good map.
Wait a minute, which one do we want, 5 or 7? We want the map that Brian, which one did they endorse, 5 or 7? No, which one did the county endorse, Carl, 5 or 7? Oh, we don't want 5, then change that to 7. I got the number wrong, 7. Thank you, Carl, for helping with that. We want the one that Brian and Frank Mann and the Black Caucus endorsed, that was 7. Okay, thank you. Yeah, that 7 map was a good map. You know, one of the things that the NAACP was trying to do, when they did the Hope 6 project, they closed down the project. A lot of folks in the city, they have to turn the road. So that area is very African. They wanted the maps drawn that way to include that community of a lot of total ones. But what we have to realize, when they do a map, they have to be fair in numbers. They have to come as equal as possible to the number that people have. Like folks are telling me now that the city map took part of the land away from Johnny Street. That's what this one. Early down, they said Johnny Street lost part of the African American community. The map the city about. Is that right, Carl? Have you heard that?
Yeah, it's right here, yeah, it's right here, yeah. Turn around, because right now, you know, Ward 1 is the largest school.
My mom drove by St. Jersey when I was a little girl, and I went to
Okay, that's what you're. Yeah, the way they drew that map. It's more to another.
Well, that's one of the.
But they may have been.
Yeah, but that's in the 60s.
Why not? They couldn't have.
What the original.
That's what Johnny Street wanted? What he got now is what he
No, I'm not
wants.
talking about any of us.
Because I'm hearing Gary Williams, another building housing complain about that. He said it's gonna cut his voting.
Have schools offer day, have schools offer in-house day for that. How do we reward that? Have schools offer
Childcare.
Do you have any other suggestions for the city? Do you have any other suggestions for the city?
No, I think we're good to go.
Okay.
Because you have some schools
Okay,
that
yeah,
have
feel comfortable.
one aftercare, parents want aftercare.
But very good. Yeah, very good.
Yes. Not just aftercare.
I'll talk about that. Okay, see you, Carl.
You went?
I support it. I hope it's perfect. But it's also. And the way we did.
Some of, yeah, some of the tendency there.
And we had this in the neighborhood.
associations are huge advocating and political legislators to help money.
That shit don't kill her. She said, no kids. She's in.
No, state legislature.
Each person gets two.
State legislature. Each person gets one. Yeah. Not yet.
Thank you. I thought of that so much.
You want to add. And I told her, and they tried to pass the bill, and it did.
Then she said this, I tried to talk 2 hours to make her see what she did. I said, I've been a kid since the 1980s.
And it passed finally, I will tell you.
I said, my this was it. The N word is my favorite word.
Oh, see, good. I mean, you
I'm out on the floor. And she run out. I run out there every time. And I talked to George Jerwell. People ain't gonna talk like that, nobody's gonna support. She saw me the other day. I'm black people on Facebook. You couldn't call me, you could have a conversation. You upset with me? No, I'm upset with your behavior. I represent you. I'm sure Jerry Eaton heard it. He will be having, he's younger than me. He will be having the same talk. He will be having the same talk about that I'm having with I know, but did you hear what the words that she just came out?
Yes.
You're not teaching. What do you mean I'm not teaching? If you don't want to.
2 minutes, and then for rotation, 2 minutes.
Not incentive, I increase it to you to try and that's an incentive. Oh my God, this is gonna be the smartest thing. She calls me up. I did it all too. And then she goes, really good. Goes like,
Especially when the pandemic hit.
You'll be working with somebody.
Yeah, I took those pictures and cropped. I feel like it's the son of the man.
I know how she
There was
Okay, as we transition back, there's one activity that still remains.
Are we going back to our seats?
So, everybody should have your dots. So here's what you're gonna do. Similar to the activity that you all did to create your areas of interest, you have 2 dots per color, with the exception of purple. So like your dot for purple is red. So not to vote, but to kind of see if there's an opportunity to narrow some of your choices, you have an opportunity, if you choose, to spend 2 of your dots at each one of the papers. So for example, if you're 14 in orange, and there are a few of them that you think are really especially resonating with you, you can take your dot and kind of place it next to the ones that you're interested in. So here's what we're doing. For your chairman, before he takes over the next part of the meeting, we're trying to see if there's opportunities to group some things that are similar, or if there's some that not everyone is interested in, that kind of moves down the priority list. So when you vote, you've had a chance to vote on things that have been narrowed for your choices, to make good usage of your time. Okay? All right, so I'll be quiet, Mr. Chairman, and if you're ready for everybody to go around and do that, then we'll do the time for you, and when we're finished, the meeting will be back to you, sir.
So just to clarify, so we all have stickers, so pink represents purple, okay? So pink is purple right now. So you'll do a gallery walk. So if I'm looking at yellow, and I walk over to yellow, I have opportunity to say, which part of this does resonate to me that I want to put a vote beside? If it's one that I'm strongly by, I can put 2 of those beside it. If it's not, you don't have to.
But I've only 2.
Yeah, I don't like this idea.
So you have 2, because you're only doing 2 for yellow. So when you go to green, you have opportunity to put your green sticker by on that.
Oh,
2.
yeah.
So purple is pink. So you get 2
Purple is
purple.
pink.
Yes. So you go to that and say, there's one of those there, I'm putting my vote beside that one, or my suggestion beside that.
Well, I just want to be on the record as saying I don't agree with this, because it's only given me 2 opportunities, and there might be something on that board where there's 3 things on there that I feel very strongly about, and I can't tear these little puppies in half.
I understand, but we're trying to.
I understand, I just want to be on the
But
record
maybe
as saying.
in record, because like now we're with Lala, and I have 2 and she has 2. You can put 3 if you agree on something.
We're gonna follow the rules.
We're gonna follow that.
Well, no,
That's it. But that's the thing.
Ms. Mark?
I'm sorry.
Well, I mean.
This is the I'm trying to find the registry.
And I understand, I just feel one thing to go, but it's just like, I know, sounds always kind of. I just wanted to be on the record, because, you know, for the last year and a half, I've tried to keep my mouth shut. And, no, I believe it or not, I've tried to keep my mouth shut. And, yeah, because now you're looking at that, oh God, she's really reported her son. Because I felt that over there, if we
Have problems.
criticizing the previous.
All teachers graduate from the same graduation. ESC teaching coaches.
I almost quit
We don't do
the
all
last
those.
2 to 3 months with my brother getting sick and having me home. I almost just quit. No, I'm fine. But it's too late.
And they need to work.
Yeah.
If we do that, that's fine.
Be there for an hour.
Some of the members from last year, no,
Who is actually,
no,
don't hear you.
and it was never reported.
You're the one thing this was building all the time. Let's go. Where they put this? So that's true. Maybe not another one.
Oh, we can put 2.
Yeah, you got 2 purple. So, or I can put both of them.
Last year, I felt
Yeah.
like I was.
How you doing there? Blessed every day.
Okay. Miss Stephanie,
Yes, sir.
you're not done yet?
I didn't have those.
How about you?
Yes, sir.
Oh, it's done with CP.
What time are we ending today?
Not my last name.
I said, how is, and is.
I remember that, I understand it. Yeah.
No, but you are there.
Sir.
Okay.
I'll be as succinct as possible, based on.
Oh. Hey, my caffeine has kicked in, so I'm good for
Hey,
another hour.
where is?
And then I fade in.
Nobody wants to keep there.
Hey, I'm the builder. Are you a teacher?
I am not.
Oh,
I'm assuming from the car.
Do you know,
This is, yeah.
Victor Brown is a black veteran.
I'm joking.
You know, I know. Like, my daughter's
Yeah.
Do I have a name? Yes, ma'am, your folks over there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Wherever you say we're going, we're not gonna be going there. We haven't gone yet. Okay, I'm on this one. This won't take me long at all.
All right, as we put our final dots on the paper, thank you for participating in this activity. I hope that gave you an opportunity to engage in the topical areas, but more importantly with one another, as I know we've not been able to do that recently with the Zoom meeting. So hopefully you got a chance to meet someone a little further in the conversation, not just the work relationships. So what we're gonna do is, I'll start at the front of the room because we had a formal recommendation prior to, and what I'll do is, I will read what's on here to the best of my ability, but then I'll identify the two that resonate or have the most tallies on there. So what I'll do is I'll try to read them through so everyone here is here, and then we'll go from discussion and make sure that it's succinct and recorded appropriately for the record. So we'll start recruitment and retention strategies, and it is stated, recommend that the school board engage in conversations with Lee County officials to explore opportunities for attainable, circled affordable housing for staff, recruitment, and retention. Additionally, there's a bullet here for recommend that the school board develop and or continue and expand recruitment efforts to attract minority teachers, administrators, and staff to better reflect student population. There is a statement regarding a classification and compensation study to address salary compression and pay scales. Shift the paradigm of teaching, exploring different alternatives to teaching. There's an example of Elevate K-12, which is a virtual online learning platform. Evaluation process should not be one size fits all. Teachers, co-teachers, ESC should have customized evaluations. Expand recruitment to Canada, Central America, Caribbean, and other citizenship pathway incentives. Cultivate opportunities for aspiring teachers to promote with emphasis on diversity. Identify ways to solicit input on school operations and on-site decision-making from teachers. On-site childcare options before, during, and after, and incentive for continuing education and advancements. So it appears that the two that resonate the most with the parties in the room were to recommend that the school board engage in conversations with Lee County officials to explore opportunities for attainable, affordable housing for staff recruitment and retention. Had 8 dots. The second one was with
7 dots was recommend that school board develop and or continue and expand recruitment efforts to attract minority teachers, administrators, and staff to better reflect the student population. So based off of this information here on this chart of recruitment retention strategies, are we comfortable moving forward with the first recommendation listed regarding the attainable and affordable housing as an official recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, for the
Yes.
first one, you all actually approved that already.
Okay.
So that's officially a part of your recommendation document. So that's already been turned into the school board.
So are we comfortable based on that information? Thank you for sharing that. Would we like to move forward with the continuing of another recommendation as listed in bullet 2?
There's an arrow there, we wanted to add.
Combine, expand recruitment to the Canadian, Caribbean, Central America, and other citizen pathways.
Right.
And the recruitment diversity, the first one. I see the hand in the back.
No, I thought you were voting.
Okay.
I was following Dennis's lead.
Any discussion on that?
No.
So are we gonna move forward with the official, motion? Someone for recommendation? Okay, then moved by Dr. D'Anuli, seconded to move forward with the strategy 2 to recommend the school board develop and continue and expand recruitment efforts with the combined, the offered citizen pathway initiatives.
Aye.
Seconded, trustee, any discussion or objection to that? All in favor? Any opposed? Awesome, we'll move forward on this end of student code of conduct. All right, student code of conduct, what is listed here, establish a clear appeal process for decisions made by principal's discretion. Secondly, support, I'm sorry for that, it's echoing. Support the Crown Act, which is create a respectful and open world for natural hair. Develop a reporting system to provide demographics through focus analytics to include and report it to EDAC with school name, demographics, of individuals listed in violation for each type of conduct expectation. Demographics of individuals, sanction, consequence, broken down by race and gender. The next bullet is to expand the use of restorative justice to keep students in the classroom. Fourth bullet, equal punishment that fits the infraction. And lastly, better educate teachers and administrators on disciplinary guidelines and processes. So we have the two with the most tallies would be the support of the Crown Act, and then the expand the use of restorative justice to keep students in the classroom. Any discussion?
Can you explain the Crown Act so that everybody
Yeah, so the Crown Act is a legislation that has been moved forward in Congress to eliminate discrimination based on the texture of hair. So again, the Crown Act is a acronym for creating a respectful and open world for natural hair. So individuals are not discriminated against based on the texture of their natural hair. That is to be included in school policy, hiring policies based on their hair texture of natural hair.
And this is in Congress right now?
It wasn't legislated, yes.
Or,
Yeah, I think it's still in the Senate right now, I believe. I'm gonna grab my phone to confirm, but I believe it's in the Senate. It passed the House, but it did not go to Senate yet. Other discussion?
You know, I need to make this point that it's unfortunate that you have spent a lot of time on that kind of stuff.
It's silly.
Sure, Mr. Bell.
Our share.
All right, are we, the two, like I said, the two with the tallies, the most would support the Crown Act and then expand restorative justices to keep students in the classroom.
Dr. Kimball, one of you just said it was silly.
Well, I did.
What part of
Well, Peter made the comment that it's a shame that in 2022 that we have to be done with a policy that is fair for somebody to wear their hair culturally.
I'm sitting here and I apologize, guys, I've been caring for an ill person for months. Maybe I missed this, but I'm sitting here listening to this dumbfounded that this is even something that we have to talk about.
That's right.
Okay, so I'm gonna say this, y'all, and I'm sorry, but maybe it sounds ignorant, I apologize.
No.
So are people really being discriminated for jobs or students in
Because of the health
schools?
texture.
Because of-
It goes far worse than the texture of their hair. I mean, it's far worse than that.
But the answer is yes.
But the answer
Children
is
are
yes.
kicked out of school.
I mean, you just have to watch the news. You can't graduate if you have dreads. Everybody knew about that story, a couple of kids. It's,
In the streets last year, correct me if I'm wrong, students with dreads, like Mr. Sherman here would not be allowed to graduate, walk. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I'm pretty proud to be against all
Thank you, me too.
that. It's stupid.
It is.
Why are we being judged on our hearts?
Oh, that's not correct, President.
I recall stories, I don't recall a specific incident in Lee County.
But there are some stories about principals
National stories, so Ms. Vaughn, would you like to share in the context of some of the conversations your colleagues were having today relative to things not connected with hair texture, but hair color?
Yeah, I don't recall that we really focused on the texture, but we today went over in our workshop the code of conduct, and we did ask them to get rid of hair color, so that if you want, I mean, you know, go to school with yellow and green hair or whatever, you can do that.
So in Lee County, Dr. Blakely could have purple hair, but he can't have his,
Right?
oh,
I
gosh.
don't know.
I don't know.
Well, I'm not saying as a policy.
Have
The
not-
conversation
have
over
not
the
been-
discriminatory practices of how someone's perceived as well kept because of the natural hair, not just necessarily the policy of a student code of conduct, but like bullying and harassment because someone is wearing natural hair is not seen as best practice or, like I said, being well kept.
Didn't Dr. Savage say that in part that was already covered in the current student code of conduct, and that this Crown Act, if it passed, would just help clarify that and bolster what's already in the student code of conduct?
Yes.
Did I remember that correctly?
Yeah, he was good, but the point is, it's a triviality when you're a big substance, we should not be addressing this, but it must be
No,
addressed.
I
It must be
agree.
addressed, because it's an issue.
So,
It is something that we need to.
To approve that. Those two things?
yes.
Yeah.
I see you have a hand. Okay, it's sure, yeah. So we have a motion to recommend the, the items of expanding the use of restorative justice practices to keep students in the classroom, as well as the support of the Crown Act when passed by legislation to clarify within the student code of conduct. Is that right, Mr. Bell, the language? We probably, motion by Amy, seconded by Ms. Mara.
Absolutely.
Any discussion or objections?
We have had discussion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we will move on to our small business enterprise. All right, so in here it says to create an annual progress reporting process between small business enterprise and EDAC committee to include periodic meetings, some to be open to the public. Communication so that local small businesses know of the district's needs and availability. Reach out to organizations that foster small businesses such as Goodwill, Collaboratory, etc. And district financial transparency webpage, identifying current spending and contracts. So it looks as though the largest here would be the communication so that local small businesses know of the district's needs and availability, and reaching out to organizations that foster small businesses such as Goodwill, Collaboratory, etc. 13 votes for that one, and for the first one, 8 votes there. Any discussion from those two? I would,
I think the only comment I'd like to make is the district or the board or the staff fairness in the distribution of these jobs. There's been issues, maybe right, maybe wrong, but there's talk about the small businesses not getting getting business in the district. And quite often, and this has been an argument here, is some of the vendors that we have are outside the district, when we have some within the district. But people paying the taxes by their business, not the ones benefiting.
thank you.
Is there a possibility to combine those two in the wording so that we capture both? Because I think both are important and they're also connected. So a possibility we could reword that a little bit, capture the concept of both of them and then move it forward as one.
So I will try to combine those. So the recommendation would be to the small business enterprise to create and establish an annual reporting progress to communicate to EDAC committee while communicating to the local small businesses on the needs and availability and the processes to be involved with small business enterprise. In short, I'm trying to.
That's a mouthful. I would hate for either of those thoughts to get lost in that. I agree they're both very important.
So I think it might be right, just how it's written, to create an annual process or to create a process, a reporting process to, communicate annual reporting to EDAC committee, and then second bullet underneath that, communicate to small businesses to know the district's needs for availability.
I like that. It's clear that way. I'd make a motion to present that.
Right, Ms. Martha's second, sorry, down the wall. Been moved, anyone second the motion to?
I can second.
All right, any discussion, objections? All right, hearing and seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? All right, we'll move over here to our board member residency area redistricting. As we talked about earlier, the board has moved forward with their vote back in December regarding the mapping. So the conversation here, there's 5 bullets here. First being to be fair. Secondly, we recommend term limits for board members. The next one is reside in the district you represent so you can know those you're representing. Explore elimination of at-large seats and add 2 or more single district seats, and then an adoption of map for redistricting. So the one with the most talents would be reside in the district you represent so you can know those you're representing. You got clarity on that?
Well, I would say from a clarity standpoint, procedurally, it is a requirement with the supervisor of election that you have to declare and show that you are a resident of the area by which you reside. So I'm not sure the intent for the first part, but it is a requirement, it's on.
Yes, yeah, you do.
I think that,
But you went on to say eliminate,
At-large seats.
at-large. So, I mean, I'm an at-large member, I live in Lee County, so that's all that matters. But there are some injustices because at one point, just because the way the elections were a few years ago, we actually had 3 board members that lived in the Estero Bonita area. So, 2 at-large members that lived there and 1 single-member district. So I can see the point of this.
Yes, Dr. Daniel.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would like this to go into record that I have no dispute about the board member living in a particular district. What I have an issue is when you get the board, you must operate for the interest of the whole Lee County. In other words, what has happened once in a while is because I'm answerable to my electorate in whatever district I'm representing, I am pushing for resources there, and if they say that my board member is not a strong voice or does not have the way, then you find a total imbalance in the resources in the district. So you can decide there so that we have representation in each part, but you cannot operate that you are only pushing for the resources in that area.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Let me respond, if I think you totally understand. When you, when a person running for office represents that district, the people in that district have a right to elect people to represent them and their needs in that district. That's why we want a single number.
Agreed.
But anytime you're on the board, just like we're on this board, we all have to vote on something that's gonna benefit everybody.
Yeah.
So nobody should do that. The worst problem we're having is with at large. When you're at large, running for office at large, you don't even have to campaign in your district. You campaign everywhere else, get elected, and ignore your district and do nothing for them, and campaign over here so you get elected office again. That is the advantage of single member over at large.
I have no doubt, Mr. Kipo, and I agree with you. All that I would like to sensitize in the language we use is a board member, doesn't matter whether this comes from, represents Lee County. Because what we are trying to fight is inequalities in the resources distribution, and the people with bigger voice, their regions get more, and that's what I'm trying to say. Yes, decide whatever, that I agree. But
Further discussion about clarifying the language here, what we are looking to make a recommendation on? Ms. Martin?
My group is the one who wrote that, and I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that what we were trying to convey was that we did not want the district-wide representation.
Right.
We wanted each seat to have its own specific area. I do, however, agree, I think Dr. Kimball, I'm not keeping track, I'm sorry, was the one saying that, you know, I have several county commissioners who I know personally, and sometimes I'll call one and I'll ask a question on their area, and they'll always say to me, Holly, I represent the whole county. And that's how it should be. I'm not saying it's not, I'm just saying that's how it should be with any school board member.
Right.
They should be representing everything.
Exactly.
However, they should know better their neighborhood than, thank you, constituents, than say, if you're representing south and I'm representing north and you're representing east and you're representing west, you should know your west residents better than I do, and I should know mine better. But that doesn't mean that I shouldn't care for all of them.
exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
So, how can we help shape that language for the recommendation?
Eliminating district-wide at-large seats, correct?
Yes, but board members, somehow there should be a board member, although they're coming from different parts of the district, of the county, represent all. Something has to, that language needs to be there.
Well, Peter, I think that's understood any board that you've been on, that once you come together, but still, it's kind of confusing to say that, because when you say that, you're going back to at large. The only way you're gonna get it at large, that's why she got the response from that person who backed out of their responsibility for their district, the people who put them in office, and took responsibility for those who are gonna keep them in office. And that's what we want to change. We want term limits, and we want a single member district to give everybody an equal chance to get elected, to get away from those two at large who say, we represent all, when they truly represent Cape Coral Republicans and European American males.
Let me interject that there is now a state law on term limits. This was signed at the end of March, but I would have gone for 8 years. It's a 12-year limit.
Okay. That's better than
Well, yeah.
So there is legislation that went through the House and Senate, we signed off, to go in law for term limits, so, can someone offer a, statement on the motion moving forward for a recommendation for this? Based on the discussion we've had?
Could you make a friendly amendment that we support what's already, if the legislators are already advocating for 12. We've done better than 16 that we've had before, because we've had 2 school board members who were there 16 years, it's too long. So we might want to go as a body, as a friendly man, by saying we support the state legislation toward term limits, which is 12 years. They're trying to fight them to get back down to 8. That's a recommendation.
Any other statements here for this, for us formalizing a motion?
Well, it sounds like if the living in the district is pretty much off the board with the exception of the 2 at-large seats. So it sounds like we wanna focus on that, on the 2 at-large seats, that we wanna move to eliminate the 2 at-large seats, and those seats would then go to districts, be assigned to districts, is that right?
So what I'm hearing is we want to make a recommendation of elimination of the at-large seats and add 2 single-member district seats
Correct.
in support of the legislation for term limits.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes, that sounds good.
Eliminate at-large seats and add 2 single-member.
District seats in support of the term limits as identified in legislation.
You good?
Thank you. Amy, any second there?
Second.
All right, thank you, Dennis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, give yourselves a hand, we completed that, so thank you. Truly, thank you for that, thank you for the input. We'll make sure that we communicate the language out and recommendations to the board. At this time, we will have an update from our board liaison, Ms. Betsy Vaughn.
I will make this as quick as possible. We have been doing some studies on proximity plan, which was focused on our elementary schools. This will not be enacted in the next school year. Not gonna discuss it anymore, but I'll just say that I think we should have been able to move on it after 2 years. And anyway, we have an audit committee now. It's a citizens committee, but it's not exactly a school board advisory committee. It's a little bit different from that. Anyway, we were without an external auditor for nearly a year, which was a problem. We have extended a contract to RSM, our former auditors, external auditors, and they are going with the advice of the audit committee of citizens from Lee County. And their first big project is risk assessment, looking at IT safety, cybersecurity, all of that. And actually, their team is, I haven't seen them, but they're here now. I think they're here now virtually, okay? And also RSM is going to review, remember there are former external auditors, and they're gonna review some of the things that they put forward when they were our auditors in the past and see how these things have been implemented. And finally, our new superintendent, Dr. Christopher Bernier, arrived in town today, driving cross-country, including his little dog. And they are here. They have bought a house. I think they're in temporary housing now until the house closes. So they are in town. He will be making some appearances in the district. However, today, one of the last things that we discussed at our board workshop was changing his, the date that we've been announcing as his date to be sworn in, which was May 16th. At the very end of the workshop, We actually directed Kathy Dupree-Bruno, our board attorney, to have a conversation with Dr. Grenier and Dr. Savage, because this would involve 3 different contracts. The way it is now, Dr. Savage would have a 30-day notice, which would make it just about right, because, May 16th, we're a little more than 30 days out from there. And Dr. Grenier would be starting on April 15th as a quote-unquote consultant, which is really just a title that we're using for the transition period. And we offered a salary for that, just I can't remember, I think it's 5,000, 6,000 or something like that. Don't quote me on that. So just stay tuned. It really depends on the conversation that our board attorney has with those 2 gentlemen. They would both have to agree, Dr. Savage, that he's willing to forego his 30-day notice. And as part of his contract, he is guaranteed to be, to still be a chief level, which is what he did before. He was the chief of operations. So he will still be working in the district. And of course, Dr. Grenier would be able to assign him, being the superintendent, he would be able to assign him to possibly, we've discussed a new executive position. Again, stay tuned on that. So maybe we'll have a new superintendent before the May 16th announced date, or maybe not, depending on how that conversation goes. And that's all I have for today.
Thank you. We now have updates from our staff liaison.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for your diligence in working through that protocol to ensure that our voices in the room were able to be heard, and you got a chance to have a concise and consolidated list of recommendations for the board. Additionally, this will be our last scheduled meeting for board policy for this year. So of course, that gives us an opportunity to look at those folks who might be up for reappointment. So there are a few of you who will be receiving letters letting you know that your terms will expire at the end of this academic year, and you have the opportunity to reapply for board consideration for reappointment for the upcoming academic year. So Mr. Reader will be sending that information out to you. I'll have a chance to speak to you today at the end of the meeting without calling names out in the public capacity here. So once again, it's just a process like you did before. Pull it out, the information is forwarded over for the board to consider. With that being said, it's been a pleasure so far working with you all. We've all done lots of robust conversations this year and lots of robust recommendations. So thank you again for those you provided today. And to our chair and our board liaison, thank you all so much. And to Ms. Crystal Torres Nunez, who is amazing at what she does. And so thank you so much for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Beatty. And to that point, I also like to thank everyone here represented in the room, but also Zoom, for working through a very challenging year. All of us, it's obvious that we've been working through a pandemic, which caused us to shift, and also working through additional shifting in our industry of higher education as we talk through the struggles with recruitment and retention, but also onboarding new leadership in the district. So on behalf of this committee, I want to thank the staff here, and Ms. Vaughn for your support and being here and being very diligent. And personally, I'd like to thank all you all for entrusting me in this ability to serve as chair for this academic year. So look forward to what the future holds. At this time, are there any other things good of the order? Dr. D'Anelli.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to echo back because I think from the committee point of view, you've been a great chair, and thank you so much. I think that's good. I also want to say, Betsy, you presented us very well, you presented the issues. That's not always the case. I've been in this committee for a long time, and I know sometimes it's not easy to just what things are. You done very well. Crystal and Janet, you guys, I was there when this office was opened, your office, and I do know more and more when they see the work you have done, that it was worth it all the time. Sometimes we give up because it's not easy, the work we see, what it became. But to see you guys having been from the EDAC committee one time, it's an honor, and I know we keep it pushing. Just nice working with everybody.
Anything else, good of the order?
I want to say I talk loud because I'm a teacher. In my hurry to go through my stuff really quickly, I was negligent with my thank yous. And I love this committee. And the reason I love it is you're after my own heart because you're all outspoken and you say what you mean and mean what you say, and that goes to how I am, for better or for worse. And those of you, I think most of you know, I am not running for re-election. Lots of reasons, you can ask me about that some other time. But thank you to all of you for being who you are, and I love the diversity in here. Thank you for being great, even though we go over all the time, and it's particularly difficult after the other meeting I went, but I'm rejuvenated by this. And our two liaisons over there, Crystal and Jarrett, yay, great jobs. So I'm gonna miss seeing you guys. It's already the end of our year. It's.
Maybe you should become a member of the committee.
There you go.
Yeah, just come in with the committee.
I could.
You should.
When I'm off the board, no, I'm not gonna. I will say it. When I'm off the board, I am going to apply for one of the citizen advisory boards, maybe this one, whichever one I could cause the most trouble on. Did I say that? No, I didn't.
That's all right.
But no, I'm not gonna be on the school board anymore, but after being 38 years in the classroom, putting in so many years into education, I'll be somewhere doing something with public education, I can guarantee that. So, bye.
Yeah, for good. I'm really honored to have and chosen to be on this board. Hope to be chosen again. Folks will know me, like this young lady here, know that. And even Jerry, this has been my life's work, diversity. I consider myself a diversity trainer. I teach from a social cultural perspective, and I always have. One of the first things I did when I came to Edison, the textbook, the psychology textbook, you remember?
What's Edison?
The psychology textbook only listed European American male achievers. What did I do? I went out of my way to demonstrate that were women, Latinos, and Africans who also made a contribution to psychology. So to be here and to be able to share my voice is great. And for all you people who gave me well wishes after losing my father last week, we're all sad to lose my dad, but I'm counting my gifts. Had him 85 years, and I am who I am because of him. He never shut up, I don't shut up. He reads and I read. And I think I'm an educator because of him, because of the fact that he was an avid reader. One last thing I want to share about my father. He was the head of food operation at Barnes Hospital and Barnes, and first African American to become manager of Barnes, Blue Boy and Bill's Hospital, restaurant. Before that was Marcy's. Then he became the first African American manager for Shoney's. He went on to Vanderbilt University as a dietitian. He retired as head of food operation at Barnes Hospital at Washington University, and went on to work in the end as the vice president of marketing for a pest control company. He had no high school diploma. No high school diploma. Very few people can do that today. He did it because he was an avid reader. So thank God for education. As I say all the time, teachers are your greatest social service in the world. And the reason we taught them all. Can't get them no other ways.
I'd like to say something. Dr. Kimball, you probably, well, I know you don't know this. I went to Edison for about 1.5 years when Florida Southwestern was Edison Community College. long time ago.
That's right.
Do you know, sir, you were the only instructor whose name I remember.
Thank you.
You were the only instructor who I could look right now and say, I remember taking his class, the only one. The legacy that we all leave people in our lives. Y'all don't know what you leave and what you do to some of the people whose lives you touch. And if we can just do a little bit serving on committees like this, I mean, I know some of you probably think, Holly, you're so ignorant because I didn't know what the crown thing was. You know what? So I learned. I don't have an enemy that I can mention because I don't care if you're black, white, pink, purple with red polka dots. If you're a good person, I want to be your friend. And that must be why I remembered you, because that's one of the things you must have taught me in Site 1. So guys, just remember the lives that the hearts that you touch and the little things that you do every day. Make them positive things to remember you by.
Oh, last thing, guys, I have 2 books coming out this year.
We'll go ahead and close and give that announcement. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I have one thing I
Okay,
wanted to
yes.
say real quick.
Yes.
The only comment I had to make was, I grew up in the Lee County system. And, I experienced a very undiverse, and I'm gonna say it, some of y'all may not like it, but racist system. And, when I left here, the last thing I wanted to do was ever come back and live here. But I found myself back here. And much to my dismay, I have 3 children in Lee County schools, and much to my dismay, the system has not changed that much. I appreciate what you had to say, Holly, but unfortunately, a lot of people make judgments about other people, when, based on their name, based on the color of their skin, and want to keep those people back. People wanted to hold me back. People wanted to hold me back.
You didn't let
No, I did not let them, but, that's not always the case. That's not always the case. So, the reason I say all that is because I really want to make sure that, these recommendations that we're making, aren't just put in front of, on somebody's desk and they look at them. These are nice, great, and get tossed out. I want to make sure we make some progress here and move the needle on.
Here, here.
I agree.
Because otherwise they're just checking the box by having us. And that's not fair to you.
Again, thank you for your
We
feedback.
gotta go, I don't wanna say much, but I also would like to say thank you, especially to Mr. Edie, Chris, Dennis, everybody, it's been a pleasure. I hope I get to come back, I hope the only reason why I would like to stay is because I have one more kid in the Lee County system, and I'd like to stay until she goes to college. Because things have changed since we moved here in 2005. When I first got here in 2005, the Confederate flag was flagging over City Hall, and that was a shocker for me, who's from Miami. But, because it couldn't happen in Miami or in Broward, really. Things for me, over the almost 20 years now have changed drastically. And I don't know, again, without getting into politics, I do feel like the last regime did open a door where people could just be ignorant and discriminate openly with an open pass. And it hasn't gotten any better since. So people like us, hopefully all of us, we're here, like I'm having to fight to make sure that my kid who's from Nigeria and she looks different than others is not discriminated against. And she's had a lot of issues this year alone, and I don't want her to go through that. So again, like I said, I thank you all for keeping me here. I wanna stay until she goes off to college so I can ensure that she is not discriminated against.
Stay for those behind her too.
Thank you for that. I hope that your continued advocacy and support doesn't stay restricted to these four walls, and continue to do what you do. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Yes. Seconded by Dr. D'Anjoli. All in favor?
Aye.
Seconded by Dr. D'Anjoli. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you all. Safe travels to you, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, get Kimball summer vacation on Route 66 coming out in August, and then let us to a teacher. I've got letters I collected from students for years. Letters to a teacher.
I would like.
You got a letter.